Yes, yes, that's Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding. That's we haven't seen Bruce uh, Dickinson in a while. It's a good having rock and roll metal. Uh, we haven't seen it. I don't know. I think my husband has something in the book soon. I don't know who it's gonna be, but yeah, it's a good way to start. Now I had to admit I cannot rock as much today because I have pain on my shoulder. I don't know what I did. I did something. And I'm 50 years old. And when I do things I should have been doing, my human body punishes me. And so I'm actually struggling a little bit because I don't know, I did something. It's painful. It's pain for me to move. So I can't really rock right now. I can rock inside my soul, but I can't rock with the way I usually move around. But anyway, enough of that. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Today is a hump day. It's Wednesday. It's Monica, your friend Monica. Now, I shared on my Facebook today that somebody disliked my video that I made, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. And the one yesterday, people have not watched. I encourage you to watch all my videos, okay? They are good. I had a good video yesterday, and I read the section from Dr. Parenti. I think it's Wealth and Power. It's really good section. I read it, and I give you some of my perspective about that episode. And so it's quite short, so it takes less than an hour to go through it, including the music, which you should always wait for my music. Because first of all, we start off with my husband recommendation, just like this one is recommended from my husband. Because when I go play that music downstairs, she's gonna be paying attention to that portion. And then I close up the episode with our awesome Kamasi Washington prologue, which you should always watch on YouTube if you want to dance, right? Because it's a good dance song. It's all instrumental, and it's just an excellent piece. It's about seven minutes long, right? But anyway, the video that I had where I did an update of the family drama. One person, I don't know who is that person, who put a dislike thumbs down. I went and listened to the episode that I didn't see anything that anybody can dislike, except I did not double down on white supremacy. I did not double down on settler colonialism. I did not double down on capitalism. I sure had double down, quadruple down. So I don't understand what was the fuss about. So for that person out there, you should tell me why you dislike it. Because from my perspective, I should ratchet up the tone, right? Because I expect you to watch me, because homegirl's gonna tell you what's up, how I see this whole system, right? So that's that. Now, speaking of white supremacy, speaking of capitalism, speaking of settler colonialism, yesterday, if you follow me on Facebook, and also if you follow me on Twitter, you notice that I shared something that broke my heart yesterday. Obviously, every day I'm heartbroken with the Palestinian people because they are exterminating the Palestinian people, indigenous people of Palestine, from their land, just like they did with the indigenous people of this country, this total island that they call United States. It's being done to them, and it's being done to them right now with silence, right? Everything is being done to them. And the criminals who are doing that to them, which is the same colonizers that did it to the people here, Europeans, descending people, right? These European descending people, they call them white Jews. They call them Jews, as if all Jews could possibly do stuff like that. Now, there's some Jews of other religion, including Arab Jews. They can't do that. These are European Jews who's doing that to the Palestinian people, just like a European Christian exterminated the people of this land and colonized the rest of the planet. Anyway, and it's not just European Jews who's doing this. It's Christian European too, right? Christian Europeans. So the two religions, Judaism and Christianity, are the one who's just happened that that's their job on earth, to exterminate the original people and lands, take over. That's why if you pay attention last night when you was watching the State of the Union, you saw something strange. This is a land that's supposed to have red people, right? Indigenous people, but you didn't see any red in the audience. You didn't see any red. All you see is literally Aryan for the whole State of the Union, right? So these are settler colonists. These are European. When you look at Donald Trump, you know that bitch is no way in hell had anything to do with the indigenous people of this land. That bitch came from Europe. And, hey, it's not me telling you. Marco Rubio told you that, right? Marco Rubio said that we went and conquered lands, right? And so that's what these people are. The job is to go out there, kill everybody, take over their land, and now they're the gods on earth, okay? And according to Marco Rubio, you shouldn't apologize for that because, hey, that's what white degenerates supposed to do on earth, okay? So that's that. So anyway, that's what you saw that. But what really yesterday was had me in quite distress and painful, because I read Open Living on Latin America by Eduardo Galleno. It's what happened in Honduras. Okay, so this is what happened. Honduras recently had an election there, and the people of Honduras elected the white degenerates in Washington D.C. They screwed up that election, right? It was not the wishes or aspiration of Honduran people. It was the aspiration of white colonizers, okay, European colonizers in D.C. and the people who work for them in that country. And so I guess the people who were there before, they had Cuban doctors go over there and help the poor, okay? People who have diabetes and they need help with the eyes. Poor people, like Latin America has a lot of poverty. People very struggling, right? And they were helping them. Now, because this new fascist, degenerate Republican Party who hate, like I've been telling you, that the mission of this Republican fascism is to make sure that, quote unquote, no Marxism could be anywhere, right? That's what it means. They don't want communism, right? Because Cuba is communism, right? If you pay attention, if you watch my episode yesterday, I say that the CEO of the Parenti company job is to exterminate communists on planet Earth. And remember what communist is. Communist is anybody who take care of the downtrodden, the poor, the left behind. Because they don't want those people. They want to wipe them out from Earth, right? So they can be like U.S. that occupy 90% by white degenerates instead of indigenous people that they don't want to see, right? That's what the Parenti is. And you go watch that, and I spoke about that. But anyway, yesterday I go on Twitter and I'm seeing literally they're closing down clinics and hospitals that help these poorest Hondurans, right? And you can see them crying, and it just broke my heart. It broke my heart. The cruelty is unbearable. You look at what happened in Palestine, where diseases that shouldn't exist in this century or any century plaguing Palestinian people is skin diseases. The same thing that they do native here. They spread them with diseases. Then that's the same thing they do to Palestinians. Same thing that they keep repeating. I feel like we living in 17th, 18th centuries where these Europeans still doing this to just people they don't want in the land so they can take over those land. So that's what happened here. I was just really, really heartbroken because I mean, it's just like there's no pushback. There's no organized force to help people. Now, they tried the same thing. I think white degenerate trying the same thing to do it in Zimbabwe or something. But Zimbabwe is a little more radical than other places to push back. They said, fuck you. We don't want you telling us what to do with our healthcare system. Right? And they send them away. And in Kenya, for example, there's another country that is really owned by white degenerate. It's basically took over the healthcare system there, and it's not healthcare that's gonna take care of people because they don't want people color, right? They want to diminish our numbers. They think that we overpopulate. Those world need to be populated by pale-skinned humans. That's what they want. They want Europeans descended people, the kind of breed like Marco Rubio, right? People who come from Europe, full breed like them, right? Like Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, these people who look like that, like Erica Kirk, people who look like that, okay? That's what they want on earth. People who are something less than that, they don't want us. And so they do it to a lot of mechanism, right? And that is what is going on right now. They are doubling down. And if you listen to Marco Rubio's speech, which everybody should have, you'll understand what the agenda of white European descendant people, they are unifying with their fathers and mothers back in Europe to re-implement this genocide of faster rampage. And it started with these kind of what seems to isolated. They are getting rid of doctors in Honduras, right? Next thing we know, they're getting doctors. They're trying to do this all over Latin America. And if you read Open Veins of Latin America, you will see the level genocidal rampage through whole that continent, where they wiped out whole indigenous people in multiple places there. And you don't even have to look in Latin America. They did it in North America 100%. And if you're human with a heart, with a mind, you know it's going to break your heart. And then on top of that, we got to sit here, listen to those criminals, settlers, colonists, and the State of Union brag about it, right? That's really what it comes down to. So that's basically what's happening in the world, okay? That's basically all the stuff that I'm telling you that's happened in the world. Now, I won't make this video long. I would just say that there's no update to give you about the family drama. It's not. You know, it's really if it's an update, I would say here. But I do have to say that some of the episodes of family drama, I don't understand what's going on with them. It's like some of them are being watched, not by a long time. And so it makes me confused. Why it seems like it has a lot of views, but they're not really watching it. It's kind of strange to me, right? But all the episodes of family drama are important. Now, if you're watching a family drama, remember this. Episode from 1 to 5 are very short. It's just snippets of the family drama. Because when I started off, I didn't know it was going to be a family drama, right? But then on episode 6, I decided, wait, it seemed like these are characters. This is a member of my husband's family, but it did appear to me as characters. Like, they just behave in a way that seemed very theatrics, right? So I label them. That's why you have them like principal character, also known Jean, the matriarch of the Augustine family. That's why you have power attorney Christine, also known as Jean's daughter, and the rest, and David, and the minor character, David, my husband, also known, I label my husband there as a villain supporter. I'm the villain, all right? So remember myself, I have roles in this play. I am the villain, the leftist, the narrator, the Bronny, and ultimately David's wife. And then we have Tom, who's the minor character, right? And he's the minor character. And then we have Henry as Jean common-in-law husband, right? And then I said that we have featuring Emily and Lacey. They basically feature through this whole theme, also known as David's daughters, right? So they just appear, the characters. And then I went outside of that to label other people who has minor roles. For example, my husband, in another setting, my husband, aunt, so I name my husband aunt. And then the minor character children, the minor character ex-wives, and then we discuss, yeah. So I basically, I went out. So on 6, I labeled the principal characters of this show, and then on episode 7, now that I had characters that appear on my head like that, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe these people actually gave me a play. This is a motherfucking play. I can't. That's when I was like, okay, that's it. I had to keep narrating the story, right? And then I culminated that story because I didn't think that was things that were very interesting beyond what I already said on episode 27. And then there was an update, and that's what I brought it up on 28. And that's basically saying that, hey, it looked like my husband's vision here is not being respected and stuff. And so it's not like it doesn't seem, this is like I say, when on episode 27, I said that I'm only temporarily postponing because this is a play that's gonna keep regenerating based on how they behave, right? Because for me, that's how this family behave, is how this play is gonna go. I'm not gonna stop it until they don't do anything that I think should be in this play. But if they do something, right, good or bad, that I think need to be in the play, is coming to the play. So it's gonna be, in my opinion, I think we're gonna keep having this play going on, right? So that's that. And then for yesterday, I mentioned the fact that it seemed like they have excommunicated us, me and my husband. I mean, we are excommunicated from the Augustine family. And I don't like that, but hey, I don't get to make this a lot of decisions I don't get to make, just like and then decide for this to be a settler colony. If it was up to me, it would have never be a settler colony, right? So I can decide how things go. But it do look like we are excommunicated. Therefore, the way that it seemed like we're going to be interacted with this family is through this medium I created, right? Which is the family plan. It's going to be the medium by which we can interact with this family. Because to me, it's interesting, no matter how they slice it and dice it, I just think it's interesting, right? So whatever event happened in this family, what transpired, how it transpired, what have you, I'm going to post it in here. So I just wanted to give you like the nature of the family drama, right? Not just so you understand. But now we're going to go to Dr. Parenti. Yesterday we read Wealth and Power. Okay, so wealth is what give the ruling classes, the white colonizers, the white right as a social, as a distinct, I suppose, distinct powerhouse. That's what gives them that, and they gain that wealth through faith, right? Through oppression, through brute force. The fact that the power that white Europeans have is not because Europe is the most abundant. It's not because Europe produces the best human beings on earth. None of that stuff. It's just that Europeans understood from the offset they gotta violate for a normal human ethos, which is you go to your fellow human beings on earth. And they knew like if you go to your fellow human being on earth, you will never be the most powerful. So you gotta break taboos, right? You gotta go out there, exterminate people, take lands. You gotta go out there and enslave others. You gotta do rape baby children. You gotta do all the vile shit, because when you do that shit, that will keep the because it put you and the other people like Afghan like, oh my god, they're asking us now we had to do this, and then they're trying to fuck with your mind, saying that, oh, that's human nature. That's not human nature. That's not normal human thing. None, zero. The normal human thing is to reject that. That's the normal human thing. But Europeans don't. And they know that. Europeans know that too. And that's why they fuck with you. That's why once others trying to fight back, you see them quickly pivot and say, God said y'all should not kill, God said y'all should not steal, right? Because once they establish the power, then they want you to keep cultivating the stuff they already know you have by virtue of who you are, right? After they already do that, right? So that's what it is. So wealth is what gives them the power, and that's how they maintain the power. Right now, the power was diminishing because as others are able to not have to fight them constantly for mere necessity. For example, the Middle East, if the Middle East was now constantly being bombarded by white colonizers, constantly attacking them and fighting them and destroying everything they have, they would have been way more advanced than them, right? For example, China is able to develop quite succinctly and greatly because they're not being constantly attacked, right? It's kind of hard for Chinese to be. Now they have experienced a century of humiliation, and Europeans have went over there trying to colonize them and give them opium and all that shit. But Chinese do have already when they were able to develop the same thing that Europe and the Eastern, the West Asia could have done the same thing. But Europeans have not let them breathe, right? Same thing with Africans. So these white degenerates and the garbage in the Republican Party know that, like, hey, let's not hold the brakes down on letting these people do their thing, because otherwise they will just be as, powerful as us. And furthermore, for example, Europe don't have shit. There's nothing in Europe, okay? There's no resources, nothing in Europe, right? There's none. But the Europeans know if Africa has everything and it's not developed. So they gotta go over there and steal Africans. So that's why I'm extra scared for Africans, because whereas they colonize Africa and slave Africa, but I feel like they can do something similar to what they did to the Americas. I like to think the Americas are worse off than Africa, okay? Africa still have vastly indigenous people. I don't think that's the case in the Americas. I feel like the indigenous people in the America took a hit. All right? They took a hit. And I'm afraid for Africa. I don't know what's going to happen 200 years from now. Will there be indigenous Africans? I don't know. The way the Republican Party and the garbage degenerates Aryans and the Republican Party think, maybe not. That's why they're attacking the healthcare system in Africa. Because they know that you have to understand these people are so vile, they use every tool in the book to wipe off human beings on earth so they can have more for them. These are sick people. When you was watching the State of the Union last night, you was watching criminal settlers, colonizers, who only thing is to exterminate. Look, it was a full of Aryan people, degenerate white folk. It was the whole room of whiteness. You didn't see people color there because it was like a KKK rally. And think about how disgusting that shit is in a country that have sizable people color, right? But that's what Republicans been complaining about. When they saw Barack Obama, they freaked out. Even though it was only Barack Obama in the house and everybody else was white, he didn't care about that. They want everything white. That's the animals we're working with. Why you think my husband's family freaked out? Because I'm brown and I'm in this white family. They don't like that. In fact, I think they despise my husband for doing that. Right? Right? They do. They despise my husband. But my husband knows that too. That's what my husband said. Fuck him. They don't like my wife. I don't like, that's it. You know, my husband, nah, that part my husband not going to tolerate. Right? He just won't go for it. Anybody who don't like his wife because she's brownie or black or what have you, they can go fuck themselves as far as my husband is concerned. But that's the thing here, though. This is the thing. The white folk are fucked up. They have corrupted their mind. They have failed to be human on earth. That's supposed, because to be human on earth, you cannot be like that. You're not God. You didn't create the earth. Alright? This is it. This is how the earth is. These are the people. These are the animals. This is you're supposed to respect the sacred. That's why I like some anthropologists who go out there in nature and find the quote-unquote uncivilized. And the uncivilized have a lot to teach us about human beings, actually, believe it or not. It's like they too are extremely religious, right? Now, religious and so-called civilized have been used as you know, for evil. But in the wild, they don't use it as that. They use it for respect. They respect. They have respect for nature. They respect for the spirits, respect for the animals. And when anthropologists go there, they just don't understand why these people are so filled with respect for just life, right? And have little tolerance for disrespect, for life stuff, right? And that's how white folks lost that. They take joy in abuse and take joy in on things that's sacred you're supposed to not do. It's because they've been corrupted from what we are nature really called for, which is to have respect for life, right? And not fuck with it. Because the only thing they're concerned about is power to control and abuse others, and wealth. Those are two things they're concerned about. Power and wealth. And even though, and there's a brute power, right? Brute power. Not power that people follow, mimic you because that's good, but power that you know you can control them and abuse them and eliminate them when you're ready, right? That's the power that white folk have. And that's the power we should always reject. And that's why the natives in North America, I respect them, because for them, they did not succumb to the compulsion. I'd rather be eliminated from earth than let white folk have that power over me. I have no respect for them. I don't. There's a few white folk that I may respect, like John Brown. But if you have no morals, if you have no respect for humanity or life on earth, right? If you don't respect the sacred, I have nothing to talk to you about. I don't give a fuck about your flag. I don't give a fuck about your power. I don't give a fuck about your military. I don't give a fuck about nothing. If you are gonna deprive Hondurans, poor folk, from having doctor to see them when not feeling well, there's nothing for us to talk about. You can go fuck yourself. This is how I feel about it. If you don't have respect for black people because they're dark skinned, I have no respect for you. Right? So this is how I think. But anyway, let's go now to Dr. Parenti. And today we are gonna go basically a little bit of what I've been calling. We're gonna go with the section that Dr. Parenti labeled eco apocalypse. A class act. Okay? You hear that? Eco apocalypse, a class act. In 1876, Marx collaborator Frederick Engels offered a prophetic caveat. Quote, let us not flatter ourselves overmuch on an account of our human conquest over nature, for each such conquest takes its revenge on us. At every step, we are reminded that we by no means rule over nature like a conqueror over a foreign people, like someone standing outside of nature, but that we, with flesh, blood, and brain, belong to nature and exist in his mix. Close quote. Do you hear that? And that's exactly how Republicans think. They think that the rulers of nature and people and everything fuck everything, because the only thing they say that people who actually want to preserve nature, they say that's a cult. Because if you're not destroying the earth, you're not a cult. You are a Christian, white Christian, right? That's what, because that's what God said for you to do. Go over there, exterminate natives, destroy earth, and do so you can be rich. That's what God said. All right, but Mr. Engels saying not so fast, because it will punish us. Mother Nature will punish us. All right, it will. You human are not superior to Mother Earth, no matter how much you think you are. Because believe me, if your arrogance and stupidity and racism will end this planet, but the planet will still be here. It will regenerate itself. Mother Nature is smarter than human beings. Okay? And if you don't know that, you don't know nothing. But let's keep going. With his never-ending emphasis on exploitation and expansion and his indifference to environmental causes, capitalists appear determined to stand outside of nature. The essence of capitalism, his rising a tree, it is to convert nature into commodities and commodities into capital, transforming the living earth into inanimated wealth. The capital accumulation process wreaks havoc upon the global ecological system. It treats the planet life-sustaining resources, arable land, ground, water, wetlands, forests, fisheries, ocean beds, rivers, air quality, as dispensable ingredients of limitless supply to be consumed or toxified at will. Consequently, the support system of the entire ecosphere, the planet's thin skin of fresh air, water, and topsoil, are at risk, threatened by such things as global warming, massive erosion, and ozone depletion. Global warming is caused by tropical deforestation, motor vehicle exhaustion, and other fossil fuel emissions that create a, quote, greenhouse effect, close quote, trapping heat close to the Earth's surface. The mass heat is altering the atmospheric chemical and climatic pattern across the planet, causing record droughts, floods, tidal wave, snowstorm, hurricanes, heat wave, and great losses in soil moisture. We now know that the planet does not have limitless ability to absorb heat caused by energy consumption. Another potential catastrophe is the shrinkage of the ozone layers and shield us from the zinc that lies rays. Over 2.5 billion pounds of ozone depleting chemicals are emitted into the Earth's atmosphere every year, resulting in excessive ultraviolet radiation that is causing an alarming rise in skin cancer and other diseases. Increased radiation is damaging trees, crops, and coral reefs and destroying the ocean uh, phytoplankton, source of about half of the planet oxygen. If the ocean dies, so do we. Okay? At the same time, the rise in population has given us acid rain, soil erosion, silting of waterways, shrinkage grassland, the disappearing water supplies and wetlands, and the obliteration of thousands of species within hundreds of more on the endangered list. In 1970, or what we call the Environmental Day, President Richard Nixon intoned, quote, "What a strange creature is man that he fools his own nest," close quote. With that utterance, Nixon was helping to propagate the myth that the ecological crisis we face is a matter of irrational individual behavior rather than being of a social magnitude. In truth, the problem is not individual choice, but the system that imposes itself on the individual uh, and prefigures their choice. Behind the ecological crisis is the reality of class interest and power. An ever expanding capitalist and a fragile, finite ecology are on the calamitous collision course. It is not true that the ruling political economic interests are in a state of denial about this. Far worse than denial, they are in a state of utter antagonism towards those who think the planet is more important than corporate profit. So they defame environmentalists as, quote, eco-theorists, close quote, Epia Gustavo, close quote, Earth Day alarmists, close quote, tree huggers, close quote, and purveyors of, quote, green hysteria, close quote, and quote, liberal claptrap, close quote. Some environmental activists in this country have been the object of terrorist assault conducted by unknown assailants with the implicit tolerance of law enforcement authorities. And you know what? In Latin America, it's even worse. They actually get killed. They kill them. Like for example, activists who protect the indigenous people and Brazil and the over there, what do you call it? They kill them. They get killed. You know, they just get killed because that's what they do. You know, they don't respect indigenous people. They don't respect nature. They don't respect anything. They only, like I said, they only care about money and power, you know, because if they can destroy the thing, it will make them a lot of billions of dollars. That's all they care about. It's really how it goes. You know, this system, this capitalist system. Anyway, let's keep going. Autocrats on countries like Nigeria, in bed with the polluting oil companies, have waged brutal wars upon environmentalists, going so far as to hang popular leaders Ken Wiza. Okay, you hear that? Did you hear what Dr. Parenti said there? Let's see if I can highlight that. So upsetting. Bear with me. I don't know how to highlight this yet. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can find it. In recent years, conservative within and without Congress fueled by corporate lobbyists have supported measures that will one prevent the Environmental Protection Agency from keeping toxic fuel out of lakes and harbors. Two, eliminate most of the wetlands acreage that was to be set aside for reserve, and three, complete deregulate the protections of chlorofluoride, fluorocarbon that deplete ozone layer, and four, virtually eliminate clean water and clean air standards, and five, open the unspoiled Arctic wild refuge in Alaska to oil and gas drills. Four, define efforts to keep raw sewage out of the rivers and away from beaches. And seven, privatize and open national parks to commercial development. Eight, give the few remaining ancient forests over the unrestrained logging. And nine, repeal the Endangered Species Act. And some, they openly profess intent has been to eviscerate all the environmental protection, however inadequate they are. Conservatives maintain that there is no environmental crisis. Technological advance will continue to make life better for more and more people. One might wonder why rich and powerful interests take the seemingly suicidal and anti-environmental route. They can destroy wildlife. They can destroy welfare, public housing, public education, public transportation, public security, Medicare, Medicaid with impunity, for they and their children will not thereby be deprived, having more than sufficient means to procure private service for themselves. But the environmental is a different story. Wealthy conservatives and the corporate lobbyists inhabit the same populated planet as everyone else, eat the same chemicalized food, and breathe the same toxic air. In fact, they do not live exactly as everyone else. They experience a different class reality, reading in places where the air is somewhat better than low middle class income areas. They have access to food that is organically raised and is specialized prepared. The toxic nations, toxic dam and freeways usually are not sustainable in or near the swanky neighborhoods. The pesticide sprays are not pure over the trees and garden. Clear cutting does not desolate the ranchers' estates, and vacation sport, even when they or their children succumb to a dread disease like cancer. They do not link to tragedy to environmental factors. Though scientists now believe that most cancers stem from human-made causes. They deny there is a larger problem because they themselves create that problem and owe much of their wealth to it. But how can they deny the threat of ecological apocalypse brought on by ozone depletion, global warming, disappearing topsoil, and dying ocean? Do the dominant elites want to see life on Earth, including their own, destroyed? In the long run, they indeed will be victims of their own policies along with everyone else. However, like us, they live not on the long run but in here and now. For the ruling interest, what is at stake is not something or more immediate and greater concern than global ecology. It is a global capitalist accumulation. The faith of the biosphere is the abstraction compared to the faith of one's own investment. Furthermore, population pays why ecological costs. Every dollar a company must spend on environmental protection is one less dollar in earnings. It is more profitable to treat the environment like a septic tank, pouring thousands of new harmful chemicals into the atmosphere each year, dumping raw industrial effluent into the rivers or the bay, turning the waterways into open shores. The forgotten benefit of preserving a river that runs alongside a community where the corporate polluters do not live anyway and does not weigh as heavily as the immediate gain that comes from ecological costly modes of production. I was just thinking yesterday, like how the U.S. military is so wasteful, it's destroying the earth. For example, when they blow off the Nord Stream pipeline. That was all that's chemicals into the ocean. It just evil shit, man. Just evil shit. And I was thinking about and now they have the Suez problem with the jail fort Navy carrier, all that shit. They just dump in the ocean, poor fish, they have to die. Like, they're so destructive. These people are so evil. It's just incomprehensible. Like, the toleration we have for people, this terrible, just evil people. But let's finish up. Solar wind and tidal energy system could help avert ecological disasters, but they will not bring disaster to the rich oil cartels. Six of the world's 10 top industrial corporations are involved primarily in the production of oil, gasoline, and motor vehicles. Fossil fuel pollution means billions in profits. Ecological sustainable forms of production threaten those profits. And mass and imminent gain for oneself is a far more compelling consideration than a diffuse loss forest into the wasteland. Weighs little against the profits that come from the harvesting the timber. This conflict between immediate private gain on the one hand and remote public benefit on the other operates even at the individual consumer level. Thus, it is one long-term interest not to operate a motor vehicle which contribute more to environmental devastation than any other single consumer item. But we have an immediate need for transportation in order to get to work or do whatever else need doing. So most of us have no choice except to own and use automobiles. The quote car culture close quote demonstrate how the ecological crisis is not primarily an individual matter of man's or soiling his own next. In most instances, the choice of using a car is no choice at all. Ecological efficiency and less costly electric car mass transportation has been deliberately destroyed since the 1930s, and the campaigns waged across the country by the automobile, oil, and tire industry. Corporations involved in transportation put quote unquote America on wheels in order to maximize consumption costs for the public and profits for themselves and to help with the environment or anything else. The enormous interest of giant multinational corporations outweigh Doomsday's prediction about the ecological crisis. Sober business had refused to get caught up in the hysteria about the environmental preference to quietly argument their fortune. Besides, they can always be found a few experts who will go against the evidence and say that the jury is still out. That there is no conclusive proof to support the alarmists. Conclusively proof in the case will come only when we reach the point of no return. Ecology is profoundly subversive of capitalism. It needs planned environmentally sustainable production rather than the rapacious, unregulated kind. It requires ecological consumption rather than an artificial and stimulated, ever expanding consumerism. It calls for natural, low cost, efficient system rather than profitable, high cost, polluting ones. Ecology implications for capitalism are too horrendous for the capitalists to contemplate. Those in the higher circle who once hired black shirts to destroy democracy out of fear that their class um, interests were threatened have no trouble doing the same against the quote unquote eco terrorists. Those who have waged mercilessly war against the rest have no trouble making war against the Greens. Those who have brought us poverty, wages, exploitation, unemployment, homelessness, urban decay, and other oppressive economic conditions are not too troubled about the bringing us ecological crisis. The plutocrats are now wedded to the wealth than to the earth upon which they live, more concerned with the fate of their fortune than the fate of the planet. The struggle over environmentalism is part of the class struggle itself, a fact that seems to have escaped many environmentalists. The impending equal calculus is a clear as a class act. It has been created by, for, and the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. The trouble is, this time the class act may take all of us down once and forever. In the relationship between wealth and power, what is at stake is not only economic justice, but democracy itself and the survival of the biosphere. Unfortunately, the struggle for democracy and ecological sanity is not likely to advance by trendy, jargonized ABC theorists who treat class as an outmodel concept and who seem ready to consider anything but the realities of capitalist power. In this, they are little different from the dominant ideology they profess to oppose. They are the ones who need to get back on this planet. The only countervailing force that might eventually turn things in a better direction is the informed and mobilized citizenry. Wherever the shortcomings, the people are our best hope. Indeed, we are there. Whether or not the ruling circles still wear black shirts and whether or not the opponents are red, la cuta continua. The struggle continues today, tomorrow, and throughout all history. Okay? And that is the end of this book. We finished this book. The only thing we have here is the end notes. We don't need to read the end notes because you can read the end notes if you want to. But we finished Dr. Parenti book, the black shirts and reds, the rationalization of fascism and the overthrow of communism. And he left us with so much to think about, so much yeah. This is an excellent book for us to, he gave us, tell us how things are. Now was the way that, and it has a lot to do with this barbaric economic system that we call capitalism. So tomorrow we'll pick up another book, Dr. Parenti. I think we'll buy the Julius Caesar, the assassination of Julius Caesar's, a people history of the ancient Rome. Okay, that's what we're gonna start tomorrow. And that's it. And then, oh, by the way, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Please like my videos. Don't not click dislike. Okay, I want you to click like, because that's what YouTube like. YouTube want you to know that you like my videos because I'm smart and I'm telling you the correct things to try to save planet Earth from destruction here. All right. So now we're gonna finish with some song. What y'all wanna hear? I don't know. What can we hear here? Let's see. Let me put music. Jesus. Let's see. We can let's listen to Peaches Knows by Locoways. Okay, Peaches Knows. That's a good one.
There's only one Nocente.
What was that?
Free Palestine.
PJ Soul, PJ Soul, PJ Soul, PJ Soul.